Have you ever wondered why some people seem to bend reality to their will with just a few spoken words, while others speak endlessly about their dreams and watch them dissolve into nothing? What if I told you that the difference isn't about what they're saying, but about the precise frequency at which they're speaking it? And more importantly, when they choose to speak at all. Here's something that might shock you. Every single word you speak about your desires is either magnetizing them toward you or repelling them away, and most people are unknowingly operating at the exact frequency that guarantees failure. They're broadcasting their dreams on a channel that the universe simply cannot receive, and then wondering why nothing ever manifests. Think about this for a moment. Has this ever happened to you? You wake up one morning with this incredible clarity about what you want to create in your life. The vision is so vivid, so powerful, that it feels like you're already living it. Your entire body is vibrating with certainty, with this unshakable knowing that it's done. It's yours. It's real. And then what do? You share it. You tell someone about it, maybe a friend, a family member, someone you trust. And within minutes, something changes. That fire you felt inside starts to dim. The certainty begins to waver. What felt absolutely inevitable just moments ago now feels distant, almost foolish. You're not imagining this phenomenon. What you're experiencing is a precise, scientific principle that governs how consciousness interacts with reality, and once you understand it, you'll never approach your desires the same way again. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now, here's what most people fundamentally misunderstand about manifestation and frequency. You are not a separate entity floating through a neutral universe. You are a broadcasting station, constantly emitting frequencies through your thoughts, your emotions, and most powerfully, through your spoken words. And every single person around you is doing the exact same thing. We're all walking transmitters and receivers, and when you speak your desire out loud to someone operating at a different frequency, you're not just sharing information. You're creating energetic interference that can completely scramble your signal. Stay with me here, because what you're about to discover might completely transform how you approach every goal you've ever had. When you conceive a desire in your mind, when that spark of knowing ignites within you, you're actually creating something real in the invisible realm of frequency. It exists as pure potential energy, vibrating at a specific rate that matches your vision. But here's the critical part that changes everything. This energy is delicate, forming, vulnerable, exactly like a seed that's just been planted in soil. And the moment you expose it to the wrong frequencies, the moment you speak it into an environment that cannot support its vibration, you risk destroying it before it ever has a chance to take root in physical reality. The question isn't whether you should speak your desires at all. The question is, at what frequency should you speak? Them, to whom, and most importantly, when? Let me tell you something that's been happening to you your entire life, and you probably never even noticed it. You start your day with this incredible momentum, this crystal clear vision of exactly what you want to create. Your energy is high, your belief is solid, and everything inside you is aligned with that desire. Then you sit down for breakfast with your family, or you grab coffee with a colleague, and somehow, within just 10 minutes of conversation, everything changes. You walk away from that interaction feeling completely different, drained, uncertain, second-guessing decisions that felt absolutely right just moments before. Now here's what's fascinating about this. Nothing overtly negative even happened during that conversation. Nobody attacked you. Nobody openly criticized your dreams. On the surface, it was just a normal exchange. But something fundamental shifted in your energy field, didn't it? What you experienced was frequency collision. When you speak your desire during its most vulnerable formation stage, you're essentially allowing someone else's energetic signature to crash into yours like two radio stations broadcasting on overlapping channels. The result is static, interference, distortion. Your clear signal gets scrambled, and suddenly that vision that felt so alive inside you seems distant, almost unrealistic. Hit that like button if this shifted how you see protecting your dreams. It helps more. People discover these principles. This is the hidden truth that changes everything about how you approach your journey toward transformation. Most people have no idea they're sabotaging their own manifestations through these seemingly innocent conversations. They think they're just sharing, just being open, just connecting with others. But what they're actually doing is exposing their fragile seed to environmental conditions that will kill it before it ever has a chance to germinate. Think about how nature operates for a moment. A seed doesn't announce its presence while it's germinating beneath the soil. It doesn't send out invitations for everyone to come inspect its progress. It works in complete darkness, in absolute privacy, sending roots down deep into the earth where no one can see. This isn't accidental. This is a fundamental law of creation that applies to everything in existence, including your dreams. The behind-the-scenes work of genuine transformation always happens. In silence first, in that sacred space where external interference cannot reach. Florence Scovel Shinn understood something profound about this process. She recognized that when you conceive a desire in your consciousness, you've actually initiated something that mirrors biological creation. That vision isn't just a thought floating around in your head. It's real potential energy existing in your psychological space, and just like a newly fertilized seed or the earliest stages of pregnancy, it's incredibly delicate. It needs protected conditions to develop strength before it can survive exposure to the harsh external world. The moment you speak it prematurely to the wrong person, to someone whose frequency cannot support what you're creating, you're essentially throwing a fragile seedling into a storm. You're contaminating it with energies that will stunt its growth or destroy it entirely. This is why silence isn't just some mystical concept or spiritual practice. It's a sacred requirement for any real transformation to take root. Your mindset during this gestation period determines everything. When you protect your vision from premature exposure, when you resist the overwhelming cultural pressure to share every intention and broadcast every goal, you're making a decision that accumulates tremendous power. You're telling the universe, through your actions, that you already believe so completely that you don't need anyone else's validation or approval. Now, I want to go even deeper into this because there's something about the way we've been conditioned to interact with our desires that's working directly against us. And understanding this revelation will completely shift how you protect what matters most to you. The impact of what I'm about to share has transformed the journey of everyone who's ever mastered this principle. Write in the comments, "I protect my frequency," if this is resonating with you so far. Here's the critical mistake that derails more dreams than any external obstacle ever could. Most people experience that initial spark of desire, that sudden moment of absolute clarity where they know exactly what they want with such precision that it almost takes their breath away. And they immediately treat it as if it's already a roaring fire. They assume that because the vision feels so incredibly strong, so undeniably real in that moment, it must be ready to withstand exposure to the world. So what do? They start talking about it, posting about it online, seeking validation from friends, asking for opinions from people who aren't even living at the same frequency they're trying to embody. But here's the revelation that changes this entire dynamic. A spark is not a fire. A spark needs very specific conditions to transform into something that can sustain itself. It needs the right amount of oxygen, the right environment, the right protection from elements that would extinguish it. And if you introduce the wrong kind of air, current at the wrong time, that spark gets blown out completely before it ever has a chance to catch and grow into the fire you envisioned. This is exactly what happens with your desires every single time you expose them prematurely. Think about what actually occurs during those conversations where you share your vision. Someone responds with doubt, even if they don't say it directly. You can feel it in their energy, in the way they hesitate, in the questions they ask that carry undertones of skepticism. Another person offers well-meaning advice that's really just their own fear projected onto your dream. Someone else shares a story about how they tried something similar and it didn't work out. And with each of these interactions, with every doubt-filled response and energy-draining exchange, that spark inside you begins to flicker. The certainty you felt starts to waver. The momentum that was building begins to dissipate. And before you even realize what's happened, that spark has died, and you're left wondering why you ever thought it was possible in the first place. If this resonates with you, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. This is where we explore the real mechanics behind manifestation and consciousness. The journey from spark to manifestation requires something most people never give their desires: a protected nurturing phase where the only work happening is internal. This is where transformation actually occurs, in those private moments that nobody sees, where you're not performing for anyone or seeking approval from anyone. Your only real job during this phase is to water that seed with your imagination, to feed it consistently with the feeling of already having what you desire, of already being the person who lives that reality. This isn't wishful thinking or fantasy. This is the actual mechanism through which the invisible realm of pure potential becomes visible, tangible reality. A gardener understands something fundamental that applies here. He doesn't plant seeds and then wake up the next morning to dig them up and inspect whether roots are forming. He doesn't parade them around the neighborhood asking everyone's opinion on whether they look healthy enough to grow. He knows that would be fatal to the entire process. The seed needs to be left alone, given consistent care in the form of water and proper conditions, and trusted to do what nature designed it to do beneath the surface where no one can see. Your developing vision requires exactly the same approach. When you resist the overwhelming cultural pressure to share everything, to post every intention, to seek constant validation, something shifts in your energetic field. Your belief stops leaking outward, dispersing into 1,000 different conversations and interactions. Instead, it consolidates inward. It becomes denser, more concentrated, more magnetic. This internal concentration of energy is what actually moves the forces that will bring your desire into physical form. The impact of this decision, to nurture in silence rather than broadcast prematurely, cannot be overstated. It's the difference between people who consistently manifest what they envision and people who endlessly chase dreams that never quite materialize. What I'm about to share with you next reveals the hidden mechanics behind why some people seem to have reality bend to their will while others struggle endlessly despite working just as hard. And it has everything to do with understanding who you're allowing into your energetic space during this critical formation period. Drop "I nurture in silence" in the comments if you're seeing how different this approach is from what most people do. Here's something that might completely shift your perspective on who's actually interfering with your manifestations. The people who derail your dreams most effectively aren't your enemies. They're not the critics or the skeptics who openly doubt you. No, the greatest interference comes from the ones closest to you, your well-meaning friends who care about you, your family members who love you, your colleagues who think they're helping by being realistic. And here's the part that makes this so insidious. Their doubt doesn't need to be malicious to be absolutely destructive to what you're creating. Think about what happens energetically when you share your vision with your mother, who worries constantly about your well-being. She's not trying to sabotage you. She loves you more than anything. But the moment those words leave your mouth, her consciousness doesn't just passively receive the information. It actively responds with her own frequency, a frequency saturated with anxiety, with fear of you getting hurt, with memories of past disappointments she's witnessed or experienced herself. And that frequency crashes directly into yours, creating what amounts to psychic resistance against your manifestation. Or consider your best friend who prides themselves on being practical and grounded. When you share your boldest vision with them, their immediate instinct is to protect you from potential disappointment by injecting what they call realism into the conversation. They ask questions designed to make you think twice. They point out obstacles you'll face, They remind you of all the reasons it might not work out. And with every word, they're broadcasting a frequency of limitation that collides with your frequency of possibility, creating the same kind of static you get when two radio signals interfere with each other on the same channel. This phenomenon has been recognized across every culture throughout human history. Different traditions call it different things, but the underlying truth remains the same. When you expose your fragile vision to someone whose energetic field cannot support it, their consciousness creates interference patterns that contaminate your signal before it's strong enough to maintain its integrity. Your partner's practical questions about finances, your colleague's skeptical tone about timing, your sibling's reminder of past failures. Every single one of these interactions introduces frequencies that disrupt what you're building in the invisible realm. The transformation that becomes possible when you truly understand this changes everything about your approach to manifestation. Because suddenly you realize that every time you resist the temptation to broadcast your goals, to seek validation through social media posts, to fish for encouragement from people who aren't operating at your frequency, something profound shifts in your energetic field. Your conviction stops dispersing outward, scattering itself across dozens of conversations where it gets diluted and weakened. Instead, it consolidates inward. It becomes denser, more concentrated, more magnetic. This internal concentration of belief is what actually moves the invisible forces that shape your reality. It's not hope. It's not wishful thinking. It's concentrated certainty that exists independent of external validation. When you embrace this kind of silence, when you protect your vision with the same fierceness a mother protects her newborn child, you're no longer dependent on anyone else's approval to maintain your knowing. You become sovereign in your belief. And that sovereignty itself, that unshakable internal authority, becomes the catalyst for everything that follows. The mindset shift here is radical. You're literally refusing to hand over your precious seed to soil that cannot nurture it. You're making a decision that most people never make because they're too addicted to external validation, too conditioned by a culture that tells them to share everything, to broadcast every intention, to measure their worth by the number of likes and encouraging comments they collect. But the hidden truth behind every genuine transformation, behind every person who's manifested what seemed impossible, is that they understood something fundamental about energy and permission. What I'm about to reveal changes how you'll view every interaction moving forward, because once you understand the mechanics of frequency protection, you'll never carelessly expose your dreams again. Write, "My power stays within," in the comments if you're feeling this shift happening inside you right now. Now let me show you where the real magic actually happens, and it's not where most people think. The genuine transformation that brings your desires into physical reality doesn't occur in those public moments of announcement or celebration. It happens in complete privacy, in moments no one else witnesses or knows about. This is where your journey either gains unstoppable momentum or quietly dies without anyone noticing. Here's what this looks like in practice. You sit quietly, in a space where you're completely alone, and you don't just think about what you want. You actually inhabit the feeling of already having it, not visualizing yourself hoping for it someday, not imagining what it might be like if it happens, but experiencing yourself living that reality right now in this present moment. You feel the specific emotions that would course through your body if this desire was already yours. You sense the environment around you as it would be. You embody the version of yourself who already possesses this reality, who walks differently, speaks differently, makes decisions from that accomplished state. This consistent inner work, this devotion to your private practice, sends a signal to the creative forces that govern reality. It tells the universe that this seed is sacred to you, that you're willing to give it the protected space and devoted attention it needs to root deeply in your consciousness before any external validation occurs. Every single time you choose this practice over the temptation to seek approval on social media, over the urge to tell someone about your progress, over the desire For instant gratification through likes and encouraging comments, you're making a decision that accumulates tremendous power. You're prioritizing the integrity of your vision over the fleeting satisfaction of external praise. The impact of this choice compounds over time. Most people have no idea how much energy they're bleeding out through premature sharing, through constant status updates, through fishing for validation from people who can't possibly understand what you're building. But when you redirect all that dispersed energy inward, when you concentrate it into this singular practice of living in the wish fulfilled, something shifts at a fundamental level. Your belief stops being this weak, fluctuating thing that depends on other people's reactions. It becomes solid, unshakable, independent of any external circumstance or opinion. Think about nature for a moment, because nature always demonstrates the principles we're talking about. A tree doesn't gather the other trees around to announce that it's about to produce apples. It doesn't send out notifications about the blossoms forming on its branches. It doesn't post progress photos showing the fruit developing. It simply does what it was designed to do in complete silence, and when the season arrives, when the timing is perfect, the fruit appears. Anyone who walks by can see the evidence hanging there, real and tangible, requiring no explanation or justification. Your life operates by this exact same principle. When that promotion finally lands, when the relationship you've been holding in your consciousness suddenly materializes, when the financial breakthrough arrives seemingly out of nowhere, the transformation itself speaks louder than any announcement you could have made during the invisible stages. The fruit proves everything. This is the revelation that changes your entire approach. Keep the seed private, let the fruit be public. This isn't just poetic wisdom. This is the actual mechanism by which the invisible becomes visible, by which potential energy transforms into tangible reality. When you protect your desire in silence, when you refuse to expose it before it's ready, you're doing something profound. You're proving to yourself, to your subconscious mind, to whatever creative intelligence orchestrates this reality, that you already believe at a level most people never reach. Not that you hope it might happen, not that you're trying to convince yourself it's possible, but that you know, with absolute certainty, it's already done. And belief at that frequency, at that level of concentrated certainty, becomes a magnetic force so powerful that reality has no choice but to mirror it back to you. The behind-the-scenes work, the private devotion, the silent certainty. This is where genuine manifestation lives, and once you understand this, the entire game changes for you. Put "the fruit will speak" in the comments if you're seeing how this principle applies to your own journey right now. If you've stayed with me through this entire exploration of frequency, silence, and the hidden mechanics of manifestation, you're clearly someone who understands that real transformation doesn't happen on the surface. It happens in those quiet decisions you make when no one's watching, in that willingness to protect what matters most, even when the entire culture is screaming at you to share everything. That puts you in a rare category of people who are genuinely serious about understanding how to work with reality rather than against it. I create content specifically for people like you, people who aren't satisfied with surface-level advice, who want to go deeper into the actual principles that govern consciousness and creation. So if this resonated with you, if something shifted in how you see your own journey after watching this, I'd genuinely appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel. This is where we explore these kinds of transformational ideas, the hidden truths that most people never encounter because they're too busy chasing quick fixes and magic formulas. And listen, if you made it all the way to this point, drop a comment saying, "This message was meant for me, so I know you're part of this community." It honestly helps me understand who's connecting with this material, and I genuinely value knowing you're out there walking this path with this level of awareness. Hit that like button too if something in this video shifted your perspective on how you protect your dreams. It helps more people discover these principles, and that matters more than you might realize. Now, there's a video right here that takes what we've discussed today even deeper into practical application. It complements everything we just covered, and I think you'll find it incredibly valuable for your journey. Click and continue with me over there. Let's keep this momentum going.